So this is ColoLocal, the Zoom sessions. First interview that I've done in since March. How many months is that? 5 months?
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm really
5 years,
excited.
maybe.
It feels like 5 years for sure. And I'm really excited to be here with TúLips. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Awesome. And I just want to ask you right away, whoever wants to pipe in, we've got all four members here and Zoom, and whoever wants to pipe in, tell me who you are and what's, in particular, what TúLips means and where it came from.
Celeste, you want to go?
Sure. Okay. My name is Celeste. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. I'm a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist with our beautiful feminist cutie pop collective. I'm originally from Texas. I grew up mostly in San Antonio, but I've called Denver home now for almost a decade. So Colorado's definitely a special place. And just a little bit about our name. One night I was like headed back to my house from just hanging out at a show with my partner. And I just had this moment of like revelation of like, oh, what if we had like a clever Spanglish name, and like because my name has an accent in it, I'm really obsessed with like accents, especially when they're in the wrong place. And so I kind of thought like, oh, how cool would it be to kind of merge these two words in Spanglish that is like not to allude to the flower, but to just be like accentuating like how we're trying to collide a lot of cultures and create a space for ourselves. Hence, the idea of TúLips was like, it just came to me. We were in the process of like trying to brainstorm a name, and we didn't necessarily have one yet. So I was like really excited about it, and I feel like because I was so excited, it's kind of how we like landed on it collectively. But I think over time, like it has different meanings for all of us. But that's a little bit about where it came from and who I am.
Okay. How did you all come together as a group? How did that start?
Lou, you want to take that one?
Oh, yeah. So my name is Lou or Louisa, and my pronouns are they, them. And okay, so how we started. So, well, I was friends with Celeste, and we had all these mutual friends, and then we were getting to know each other. And I'm in another band too called Purple Denim, and I had been playing with them for a bit of time, and I love that band. The band is very dear to my heart. But like all the people I play with, all of them are some queer, but they're like mostly like white identified, like I don't know if they all identify as men, but like, very different than me, I guess.
Very different than the group of TúLips, right?
Yeah. So yeah, they're like yeah, I love Purple Denim. Shout out Purple Denim, I love you. But yeah, and so then I was like hanging out. Celeste and I were going to lunch one day, and then I was like, yeah, I play in a band, and then Celeste's like, what? Let me hear your band. And then I like played a song, and Celeste's like, dang, like, and I was like, I don't even remember. I was like talking about how they're like Purple Denim's there's a lot of whiteness up in that, and I was like, yeah, I want to play with other like BIPOC folks. And Celeste's like, let's start a band. And I was like, and Celeste's been playing music way longer than I have, so I'm very intimidated. Like I even though I was playing with this other band, that band's like super low key, like chill, and our band's like, we're gonna play Red Rocks in like 2 years, like or next month we're gonna play Red Rocks. A lot of ambition, right? And so then one thing just led to another. Like we're Celeste like saw Vic perform, and then Celeste was like, you know, those like I don't know, they're like when your eyes are just like, oh my gosh, there's this person's amazing.
Like the
And
googly eyes in the Looney
yeah, like
Tunes,
the
right?
googly,
Yeah.
Super googly eyes.
super googly. Like, plus they saw Vic perform and was like googly eyed, googly eyed. And then I like met Stevie. It was kind of similar. Like, and Stevie was like, I play music, and I was like, googly eyed, googly eyed. And then yeah, and then like Vic.
Well, hang on a second, Lou. How did you come to see Vic play, and how did you come to see Stevie play?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So Celeste, so Celeste and I were playing with just some other random folks that it like I felt like there was kind of this rotation and folks were either moving or just this and that. So there wasn't like a solid core. And then we were playing with another one of our friends, and then Celeste invited Vic to come, right? Celeste?
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
we were at like a Ila Bamba show, and our mutual friend and like former member of our collective, Judith, came up to me and was like, I want to be in a band. Also, Vic wants to be in a band. And I was like, cool. Like Lou and I are trying to start a band. So, and I had been the googly eyes to Vic. So I was like, for sure. And I saw Vic perform actually at this action that happened when the Detention Watch Network was hosting a conference that was in Aurora, not too far from, where the Geo Detention Center is. And we were putting ICE on trial as like this theatrical action. And of course, like in the AFSC, American Friends Service Committee way, they always incorporate art, I feel like, into their actions. So they invited Vic to like perform, and I heard Vic sing, and I was like swooning really hard. And I'm pretty sure I text Lou like in that moment, like, I think I found like our singer for the band. And I kind of just put it out there, and we were here at this Ila Bamba concert a couple months later, and that's when we kind of met and formed more of our friendship. And then Vic just kind of kept sticking around TúLips, and I'm glad that we're still here. But I'll let Lou finish the story on the Stevie front.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so then Vic, Celeste and I and our former bassist Judith, we had all been playing for a minute. And then Stevie and I have a mutual friend. And so I was like, I had tickets to this random event for Meow Wolf at Elitch's, let's go. And then our mutual friend, Olivia, shout out Olivia. Our mutual friend was like, can I invite this other person? I was like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. And so then we go to Elitch's, and then I met Stevie, and I was like, as you can tell, I'm a little chatty, I'm a little chirpy bird. And so I was like,
sure.
Stevie, what do you do? And then they were like, well, yeah, I play music. Right, Stevie, is that what happened?
That's what happened. Yeah. It was like we just bonded because it was sort of like, it was a random event to me, and it was early on when I had gotten to Denver because I'm not from here. And we rode this roller coaster together, and I knew at that moment, they say like when you do some high adrenaline activity with somebody, that's like an instant bond. And it definitely was the case.
Where are you from originally, Stevie?
The South. I moved around a lot as a kid.
Okay. How long have you been in Colorado?
Since 2018, like fall 2018.
Okay, so Vic, how long does that mean that you all have been a band officially?
Yeah, I think we can count from the day that we debuted our craft publicly, and that was through a fundraising event called the People's Party that one local grassroots organization called COPA, Colorado People's Alliance, shout out to COPA, who hosted us and really rooted on us to come forth and unveil our music to our community, because we all have ties to the community as organizers in some way or another, and activism work that we do individually as people. And so that would be in June of last year. So this last June, we celebrated our first aniversario of being out there in the world as TúLips.
That's awesome. What has been your best show at this point? What's been your biggest moment as a band up to this point, since you've been together a little over a year? Did I get that timeline right?
Yeah, just over a year. I think it depends who you ask. So, I'll give it a shot. I know that obviously our debut was very special because, well, I know we were all very nervous to reveal this work and just present ourselves as something that was definitely an alternative to what the music scene has to offer here in Colorado, and get behind that sort of political identity of disrupting the music scene as it is, which is very male, very white, very straight, and we're none of that. So that debut was important for us. And then, you know, along the way, we did so many different other shows, whether it was kind of private house party type thing with our friends and chosen fam, and then more public events. I know one of my favorites would be our very last one, which happened at Blush and Blue to celebrate Celeste's birthday. And, you know, we have all kinds of hiccups with technicalities and such, but we also were so close to the audience because the stage happens to be so teeny tiny that we had to spill over onto the actual floor. And all of our friends were there, and having that receptivity with audience it just creates such a dynamic that to me stands out as a really warm memory of our work out there.
Was that the show with Lady Gang at Blush and Blue? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I had the privilege of attending that. In fact, that was the show that I was able to attend.
Oh, cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Nice.
I did not realize it was Celeste's birthday, however, but happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. We've had a couple birthdays since then. More coming down the pike.
It's true. Pandemic birthdays, what a thing, right?
Yeah, totally.
I forgot to ask you, forgot to clarify who plays what in this band. Let's start with, since Celeste is on my screen. Celeste, what's your role in the band?
Yeah, so I guess we can say instruments and also kind of how we manage our collective stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to do it.
Cool. Yeah, so as I mentioned, like I am more of a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist. I play predominantly guitar in the band with my blue fun little Yamaha, but also play keyboard. And then, as Lou kind of alluded to earlier, I have like a pretty long classical upbringing in music. And so throughout time, I've just played a lot of instruments. If it has strings, I can usually figure out how to play it. Is kind of where we're at. But it's been fun to be able to kind of just bring different things and experiment, like whether it's, you know, adding a little bit of percussion, even in like some of the early iterations of Mexican Road Trip that we'll hear later on. I was like being kind of a diva about how we wrote that song. And I added flute to the first iteration of it. But then when Stevie transformed the bass line, it got so much better. So anyways, those are some of the roles
we'll get more
play.
into that in just a second. Absolutely.
Definitely.
I see keys behind you too. So you said you play strings, everything with strings, but also apparently keys, right? Did I hear that?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was 3 years old. So I have a fun relationship with that, and have been bringing more of that into our sound. Also, we've been experimenting a little bit more with like synthesizer sounds on our virtual recording. So I've been like messing around with with the digital front, which has been fun. And then I also manage our social media that we collectively create the content for, which has been super fun. And our fan base has grown so much throughout quarantine, which has been really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, yeah, and I'll pass it to Stevie.
Also play a couple of different instruments. I've been playing music since I was 13, and I have a clarinet with me, but has yet to debut for TúLips, but hopefully soon. I play guitar sometimes, but primarily bass. And my role in the band, especially with this new season of songwriting and all of that, is just getting more, putting more roots into the band, I would say. Writing music, sharing that role, and also doing some basic music production too. So cleaning up songs like the ones that we're about to hear, and helping us to record some new songs for this upcoming cycle.
Can I ask real quick, what do you mean by this new season of songwriting?
So pre-pandemic, most of the songs that we played live, they were just older songs from us. And so this year, one of our goals was to take the time around when pandemic started to create new songs together.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds like a great goal. That's a great use of your time, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
how have you, this kind of bleeds into a question I was going to ask later, but how have you been recording together? Have you been recording separately, or have you been able to find a space together?
No, I mean, for the time being, we have been recording separately using Soundtrap, which is this cloud-based platform to collaborate on different songs and lay in our respective tracks. And hopefully, moving forward, we're going to experiment with some ways to practice and record safely together.
Okay. Excellent. Who's next, Vic or Lou? Someone speak up.
Yeah, my main contribution to TúLips has been vocals. Been singing before TúLips, I'd say maybe around 2 or 3 years before that, and really started my singing trajectory by interpreting traditional Mexican music, rancheras. And navigating that scene was challenging because it really put me into a box in terms of what people got used to hearing me do with my voice, and this like deep chested, loud sound. And going back to this concept of disrupting the scene, I really felt like I couldn't penetrate the spaces in the Latinx community with many bands, folks that we all collectively know, but I personally know. I've been following and trying to figure out how to play a role in that space. And everybody just kept telling me, just stay in your lane. Like, that's what you're good at, and just keep doing that. And I really wanted to do more, right? And so being able to plug into TúLips was a huge opportunity and privilege for me, continues to be. Obviously, we are family and operate that way, but also for me to explore what else I can do musically with vocals. I play a little bit around percussion, mainly the cajon, and look forward to, like Stevie alluded to, this new season of songwriting, which I also share with the group, is what else can we incorporate as far as, we all have a lot of shared commonalities, but at the same time, we're all very unique as individuals. And that's going to come through in our lyrics and the kind of work that we co-create together, the new songs that we give birth to. And so for me, my identities are very important to sort of give visibility to in the sound, in the lyrics. And so it goes from English to Spanish and back, incorporating some of the South American. I'm originally from Venezuela. I'm Caribbean. I'm an immigrant. And there's a lot of poetry as well as a spoken word artist and so on there. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for us to really leverage who we are and our identities and bring that richness. And then just the role with the colectivo, been trying to hold down the more the dry and boring accounting operations type of angle, which is somewhat dormant as we have gone into the pandemic mode.
Yes, but still extremely important for
Totally.
survival of a band. How do you think that what you just described with really kind of like the incorporation of Spanglish, of switching between Spanish and English, how do you think that continues your goal of sort of interrupting the status quo?
Well, it's certainly important for us to provide the visibility as folks who have not necessarily seen ourselves reflected on stage. We're essentially providing that opportunity for our own community, and language justice is part of that. Sure. Language is as evolving and dynamic, and we honor the reality that language as a tool is very malleable, and we have every right to contribute to that evolution. And so it's a lot of honoring what it means to a lot of us, particularly if the closer you get to the immigrant experience, to lift up the contributions that our people have made to just how we communicate and elevating that through our music.
Absolutely. And even sort of contributing to how different dialects evolve, right? And how, within English and without of it. And that's very important.
And it's like, if that's just how we grew up too, then that's how we grew up, or if that's what we do within ourselves, then like, that's just us being authentic too, right?
Absolutely. This is Lou speaking now. So Lou, what's your contribution?
Yeah.
Musically and otherwise.
Yeah. And so I think Celeste and Victoria kind of pulled this element in about the colectivo, right? And so I think that a little bit more expanding on that is that there's an intention with us and an openness with us that we kind of can migrate to different instruments if we are called to. And you kind of see that, right? Like Stevie, like we like to do different things. I just get bored really easy, but and I mainly play drums, but I also do vocals. I have like yet to like establish and develop this more with TúLips, but vocals and songwriting are like two other passions that I have that I like want to bring more to TúLips in this coming. What did you say, Stevie? Like vision cycle?
Season.
Cycle. Yeah.
Songwriting season, right? Yeah. I like that.
So that's what I do. And also like in that intention and openness of the structure of a colectivo, is that I think we also, COVID definitely put a damper on this, but playing with other people and kind of inviting like community in to, just mix and mingle and like create together. So that's been a little hard, obviously, during COVID, but I'm sure that will be on the rise at some point.
Okay, well, we're going to get to a song here. I think since we've already mentioned it by name, we're going to listen to Mexican Road Trip. Now, this is a live recording. Where was this recorded? Was this the Blush and Blue concert, Celeste's birthday?
This was actually Three Kings Tavern.
Three Kings, now closed, unfortunately.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, yes. Time I think we've all probably spent lots of good times at UMS or otherwise. Three Kings, and it's sad to see it go. But this is Mexican Road Trip by TúLips, and enjoy.
Next song.
It's inspired by Summer Crush. You know how to be Geminis in the room? Unscrupulous talkers. This is titled Beverly Smooth.
And we're back. So talk to me, whoever wants to speak up, talk to me about, a little bit about Mexican Road Trip, about where the writing came from, how it originated, and how maybe a little bit how it evolved, and what the sound really means to the lyrical output.
I can start because like I kind of mentioned earlier, I was a little bit of a diva about this song. I see Vic being like, not a little bit. Anyways, how it emerged is we were just messing around at a band practice, and I was like just playing like this bass line that was like a more simplified version than what has evolved to the current bass line. And where I was like, oh, this sounds like pretty cool. And then we just like, we have this process when were in the same shared space pre-Rona, where we would just kind of like, if any of us had an idea, we would just vibe with it and concept it and then see where it went and just record like a little voice memo and then see like if there was anything else that felt inspirational ongoing. So this bass line like got me just like really excited. And I remember like after we had practice that day, I like went home and I kept working on the bass line and I found the chords for it. And then I like played a different kind of tempos, I guess, if you will, for it. And we started to talk about later in future practices, like what the sound kind of reminded us of. And this idea of Mexican road trip emerged. And when we had a couple other members of our collective there at the time. But yeah, I'll let Vic or Lou like speak to how the rest of it progressed. But it literally has like probably 6 versions.
Shout out to Judith, Bianca, and Amanda, older members of the band who were like, we were just fucking around. Oh, can you say that? Messing around.
You can say that. It's fine.
Fucking around. We were just having fun and like, yeah, I heard the bass line and then I started totally drumming. It was like high energy. And then from there I was like, oh, I want to grab onto this, whatever this is, and then like see where it goes. Let's take this for a wild ride.
Yeah. And the other piece, like before hopping in, Vic, we were like getting ready for the Westwood Chili Fest as like our like 3rd show ever. So we were like trying to think about like between covers and original songs, like what could we share? And we like made Mexican Road Trip kind of the hook of that debut of that performance, which was already pretty epic. But I'll let Vic speak to the lyrics.
Yeah, former band member Bianca and myself were tag teaming on writing lyrics for Mexican Road Trip. So we were hanging out at my house and just listening to the recordings from practice. That was just very organic, and we were just like, what does this feel like, right? So this beach vibe, and so we started just describing some things that are evocative of, you know, the beach scene and being near the ocean and this and that, and all doing that dance with language between English and Spanish. And so that's how it started. And we brought it back, and just like Celeste said, it went through many iterations. It was very hard to reach consensus on so we felt like we were going back to the drawing board quite a bit.
Well, how did the once you brought the whole band together, how did that drive the song? Once you did, was there any moment when, like Celeste mentioned that the original bass line that they wrote wasn't the final version? Did Stevie have anything to contribute to that, or was there anything that really kind of solidified the song that allowed you to get to a final version?
So they had several recordings of this song before I entered the picture. And my archivist brain, I was like, let me organize all of our documents. And I kept returning to Mexican Road Trip because there was something about the energy of that song that I was obsessed with. And so whenever I would get the chance, I would just try to add some like life to the bass line, because like they've explained, like it's a very fun, energetic song.
Sure.
So I wanted it to have that sort of like vibe to it. So I decided maybe if it just jumped around a little bit and like added a little accents here and there, what would that do for it? And so one day I presented it to them at one of our practices, and I might just say it reinvigorated so much life. And I feel like I felt very satisfied with the work I contributed, and everyone like validated so much out of that. So
that's like the epitome of Stevie.
Yeah.
Like Stevie's like boop 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 boop, boop and then pow bang. Oh yeah, that's amazing. All right.
As a percussionist myself, I'm familiar with how a one different sound from one of your members in a band can really invigorate an entire sound of the song, and so I'm very much appreciative of how that can happen. I want to ask you all about what it's like to be a band during a pandemic. I think that it's hard. It's a hard time for everyone, and we're all doing the best we can. And so as we've already mentioned, we're watching here in Denver, Colorado, we're watching our local venues close. We're watching our neighbors suffer. We're watching social justice get a moment, but we're also watching it get damped down at the same time. So give me a little bit of whoever wants to jump in, give me a little bit of a cooling about what life is like for a band in Colorado during a pandemic. Whoever wants to jump in. Should I call on someone? Let's go. Who haven't heard from for a minute? Let's go to Stevie or Vic.
Yo. Okay, well, I think overall, of course, these are challenging, very fluid times, and TúLips has been able to have continuity just based on the relationships, the trust that we build with one another, and having regular times to connect, which a lot of times is dedicated to just checking in, having that social energy with each other, to support each other during this time. And we have as well brainstormed together ways to continue to connect with the audience in social media specifically, and have creative energy invested there. Shout out to Celeste for leading that work. Um, and then, once we had reorganized ourselves in this new environment, and thanks also Stevie to their leadership in getting us with all our ducks in a row and attempting to record and embrace the new artistic challenge that is to record separately, when we realize all the things that we miss from live practice and the things that contribute to getting a song from start to finish, like nonverbal communication or other cues that are happening live when we practice, and all of a sudden you're doing this in kind of a vacuum a little bit, and so it's a whole different energy, and it's demanding in its own way, but we've been able to guide one another through that process and to make it a fun, rewarding experience, despite that it's very, very different from what we're used to. And now, as time has progressed, we've made plans to come together in 3D and have tomorrow we're going to get together just to be social and at the Cherry Creek State Park, and then have some practices in person at Lou's house in the backyard, social distance and all. So that's, I think, what and mask wearing, etc. 6 feet apart. That's the progression.
What have been the main challenges? I'll ask Celeste this. What have been the main challenges in recording separately?
Oh man, I think again, kind of what Vic was mentioning is like just our collective energy. Like for example, with Verbally Smooth, like that song is so organic. It's such a collective process. I literally have tried to apply all of my like literal classical technical training to figure out my part to get it right, and it's just not it, because like we're not in the same room together, and I can't like hear the drums, and I can't hear Vic's voice, and I can't feel where we're going with the tempo with Steve, like, you know, like I just that has been interesting. I think also a lot of the pieces that I've recorded a little earlier on in quarantine, and like when I was playing like Soy Otra Cosa, for example, or even my parts on some of our other songs, it was like, how do I still bring like the energy, like we're in front of a room and like we're all together, when I'm literally just like out here in my living room hoping that my neighbors don't blast their music next door, because at Westwood, that's part of our life. Yeah, that's definitely been some of the challenges. I've really appreciated our creativity. I think the only other challenge I just want to mention is like what used to be like a 5-minute or 30-second inspiration kind of process. We're now feeling that stretched out over like weeks and months of time. And so like I think us staying like connected and at least keep trying like is like been a huge aspect of like how we've emerged with some working songs right now. Like Stevie has a working song that we're thinking about, like there's a duet Vic and I might have come out, you know. So anyways, but like, yeah, if anything, I just miss being in a room together. But just shout out to Outfront for their feature article they did on us about like this process and how we've been creatively navigating these challenges. Definitely appreciated that visibility and the acknowledgement of like, as rough as it can be, like we're still artists, you know, we're still gonna bring our whole selves as much as we can to the space.
Absolutely. I want to ask, and I think I'll call on Uisa for this. How do you feel like the music scene in Colorado might have been altered or changed from COVID-19? How do you think things might change in the future? How do you think that'll affect how you operate as a band?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I worry most about, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, right, with Three Kings. So I think the thing that I constantly kind of worry about, and it's not just about the music scene, but about the businesses in my neighborhood, my neighbors, just who makes up my community. Like Denver was already on a track of being less DIY, less, just people kind of it being affordable, right? And gentrification and this whole shift that Denver's had in the last 10 years.
10 years, yeah, 10 years plus, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that was already concerning me, and just the thinking about disaster capitalism and what happens when, all the folks who are already struggling just get more, it becomes more exacerbated, right? And then that culture, those scenes, the music scene, like all of that was more accessible, right? People making music on their own, like recording in their houses, their basements or whatever. And just like, and venues being affordable and like, I don't know. So it makes me worry. But I mean, I know our communities are resilient and we always find ways, because people aren't going to be stopped. Our creativity doesn't just leave us, right? What we respond to might change. But I think, so that's what my worry is like, where are all of our folks going to go?
Right. And the continued gentrification, and this is also an opportunity for the DIY and the people who don't have the accessibility or the finances to be accessible. They tend to just get swept under the carpet in times like these.
Right.
Right. Can you expand real quick on that concept? You said disaster capitalism.
Yeah, I didn't make it up or anything like that. It's from like Naomi Klein, this like amazing, she's this amazing author. I don't even know all the amazingness that she does, but Google it, Loca, right? Like that's, but so, I mean, it's just about how when there's something happening, like a pandemic, and then people who have already been economically struggling, then it's like those resources, or, you know, people aren't, I worry about this, there's this cool restaurant down the street like from our house called Coco Pirata, and like I just worry about them trying to just get by, and so disaster capitalism, I think, is when a disaster happens, like a natural disaster or a pandemic exacerbates that economic disparities, the already the like systemic oppression that people are facing, that like they can't, you know, get ahead, or not get ahead, but they can't, like, you know, keep getting their basic needs met.
Yeah. I'll call on Stevie for this. Stevie, how do you feel TúLips' role is in all of this, and all of those concepts we just kind of talked about?
Honestly, being fresh to TúLips, I think for me, a lot of this, our actions within pandemic has symbolized that resilience that Luisa is talking about. Just coming on the scene less than a year ago, but I think arguably making such a big splash, being who we are authentically, and still surviving this speaks on a larger scale as well. I've been reading a lot of Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown lately, and I think some of the lessons of that book, which basically says, you know, what we do on an interpersonal small scale reverberates larger outward, I think applies here as well. I think by just remaining, you know, motivated and holding on to that inspiration, however long we can, to bring back to each other, to keep ourselves grounded in our creativity, and using that as a survival mechanism for, you know, not only TúLips itself, but the community as well. It's just really important. And I think our role is just to continue providing really meaningful entertainment that everyone feels, hopefully, that they can also participate in and see themselves in as well.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
would even say like meaningful connection, like too. Yeah.
Important. It's important to have that connection with your audience, and to provide kind of a hope, and provide hope, really. Provide hope and inspiration, right?
Agreed. And something really cool as well, based off of our like social media statistics, is that our engagement just continues to grow, which helps to show that, you know, this is effective for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to another song. This was also recorded at Three Kings, correct? Verbally Smooth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, that one was actually recorded at the Out Loud show at Blush and Blue back in February. And this was like actually like the last time we all played live music together too. So extra special, Sparkles.
Extra special. Okay, so TúLips with Verbally Smooth.
Next song is inspired by Summer Crush. You know how many Geminis in the room? Unscrupulous talkers. This is titled Verbally Smooth.
we're back. Let's see. How about Vic? Vic, you want to comment on this song?
Yeah, I'd love to. This was the first song that I wrote for TúLips, and it was fresh joining the colectivo and really trying to find my way in the space, because it was really the first experience doing something other than interpreting music. And it was like cracking this knot, like twisting my brain. How do I even play a role in here? And so I took some poetry that I had written and just started to mold that to the sound of a recording that I came away with. And then I brought it back and was like, yo, I have a thing. Let's listen to it. If you like it, it's a go. And boom, we have Verbally Smooth.
Is that what Verbally Smooth, what the title comes from, is just kind of cracking through something that was rocky and now might feel more smooth?
Not quite. I always like to give a blur about songs before we perform the songs, and usually what I speak to on Verbally Smooth is that it's inspired by a summer crush of mine. And
oh, not the movie. Okay, all right.
And that this Gemini person who's a talker, very verbally smooth and unscrupulous talker. So the needless to say, there's no happy ending with this crush, but
okay.
The entire song is to really.
Is there ever really with Geminis? Let's be honest.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
wait, okay, time out, Jeremy.
Oh, Jeremy.
Oh, did I cross the line? Did I cross the line?
Outside of
I'm sorry.
myself, everybody has Gemini in their charts. So we're a very Gemini full band. Lots of duality, lots of talking, lots of process. But it's okay because I'm our air sign, so I help balance it out.
It's okay. No, I understand. I wasn't totally serious.
Just slightly.
Just slightly. I also have lots of air in my sign, and but I am primarily fire and earth. So anyway, just go ahead and finish your thought, Vic. Sorry.
That is
that was it.
No, that's a song that is very special to me, just based on that sort of breakthrough that I felt in joining TúLips and figuring out my own process for contributing and joining the flow.
Sure.
Yeah. The other fun fact I'll just add about the music part is it was like the chord progression and some of the drums was like super old from this original jam that like Lou and I tried on with like, you know, those early multiple iterations of trying to find like our band all the way back in like spring of 2018. And at the time I just called the sound surfer punk jazz and then was like waiting for there to be like lyrics. And the reason why I called it that is I sent the recording to my dad because my dad's like really into my musical process and also TúLips' process behind the scenes. But I sent it to him and he's like, kind of sounds like surfer jazz. And I was like, okay. And Lou and I were like, but we're trying to go for punk, so I don't really know what this means. But that's how kind of the intro and stuff with like the more picking of the guitar into then the progression evolved. But like when Vic shared the lyrics, it just was like the perfect combination of the thing. So thank you, Summer Crush. Thank you, Geminis.
Way to go, Geminis.
Shout out to you.
Luisa, would you describe TúLips as a punk band?
That's a funny question. Maybe post-punky would be probably more around that. Yeah, we got a lot of elements, and they're swirling around. So yeah, I would go more with the post-punky vibe. We did settle on, you know, some of the vibes we get are surfer gothy, totally. With, I feel like Celeste had mentioned this about Big's lyrics about them being pretty dark. You know, so getting that really that like angsty goth vibe too.
Yeah, lots of heartbreak.
Yeah,
lots of dramatic feels.
That's where one of the twins of the Gemini come in, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or just like queer heartbreak. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I have like probably 30 poems on that topic alone, so some of them have emerged into a song or two.
So is queer heartbreak worse than? And I have my opinion on this, of course, but is queer heartbreak worse than cis straight heartbreak?
Don't know her.
It's definitely worse. Took me a long time to figure that out.
Whatever.
So what are some of I guess we'll go to Stevie, who's up next. What's some of the goals for TúLips in the coming several years? I know that it's a tough question to ask or a tough question to answer in the middle of a pandemic, but tell me a little bit about some of your goals and individually and as a band.
As a band, I think some of our goals definitely are to get some music out there, to get it recorded, an album to come together within the next year. We have a lot of merch.
What length
ideas.
album? EP, LP?
Probably an EP.
Okay.
Hopefully we're gonna get some merch going too. We have a lot of ideas: pins, bags, hats, shirts, masks. It's appropriate. I would say those are the big things that we really want to get done.
Don't forget about Red Rocks.
Don't forget about Red Rocks. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Where's Red Rocks in our plans for TúLips?
Well, we had to postpone that.
Yeah, as soon as it's safe to gather at Red Rocks, because you know COVID is gonna be here to stay. We don't know that much about it, but once Red Rocks wants us there and can get us there safely, then Red Rock.
Right on.
In the near future, there's a few fun things for our fans coming up that we're going to be doing social media wise. Starting in September, every first Tuesday of the month, we're going to be doing TúLips Tuesdays, where we just kind of hop on Instagram Live and folks get to know us, and as we chat with each other about the different things that are going on for us in life. And there's going to be other like fun things that are also educational during this pandemic, so stay tuned to that. But I think one of our goals is to hopefully release a single this year, if possible. And then, like Stevie said, in that greater process. And so we appreciate all the patience our fans have had, because we kind of really built up that anticipation here at the beginning of the year. So yeah, shout out to them and sticking around.
An understandable delay, nevertheless, though. Vic, any thoughts on the next couple of years of TúLips goals, or for yourself individually within the band?
Yeah, additionally, once it's safe to move around, I think touring has always been something we talked about, and yeah, let's get TúLips on the road if we can, and then cross imaginary borders if they allow us, or some of us anyway. But yeah, just continuing to share what we have and continuing to explore together the other things that haven't been tapped yet in this new season of songwriting, with all these new flavors that are emerging. So that's exciting to me as well, and exploring more of ourselves through our sound.
Awesome. Let's get to the last song that we have today. Soy Otra Cosa. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Luisa, do you have any thoughts on this? You want to introduce it?
Well, it seems like it's a crowd favorite. It's pretty fun. It's pretty dancey. Yeah, it's a good time.
Where was this is also a live recording. Where was this one recorded?
Where was this one supposed to stay?
This was also part of the Territorio Liberado show with Roca Hueca and Don Chicharron at Three Kings.
Cool.
Three Kings. Okay, Soy Otra Cosa by TúLips.
We're here to re-indigenize, resisting assimilation and, quite frankly, extermination. Well, soy otra cosa.
Okay, so who wants to jump in and talk a little bit about this song?
I can start. This one too, like it super fucking old. Let's be real. Like this bass line emerged way back in the day at this point, and so we appreciate that it's a crowd favorite, and it was fun to put together. It started again with kind of just messing around with the bass line, and then from there I was like, oh, what would it be like to do open chords on the guitar instead of the bar chords? Does that change the sound? And we just had the progression for a while, and then around that time I had some sort of like oppressive situation happen, and I can't remember the exact interaction, but I wrote a poem. That's usually one of my coping mechanisms, and I passed it along to Vic and our former bandmate Bianca at the time, and they just like ran with it and created some dope ass lyrics that I'll let Vic speak to.
Yeah, similar. We were at practice jamming, just trying to figure out the sound, and I pulled out my phone, looked through poems, found one poem called Soy. I started to try to mold it to what we were hearing, and also incorporate some of the pieces from the poem that Celeste had on hand. So it just kind of became this blend of things, and it is a really high energy and fun song to perform, and everyone I know always says, I love that song. Yeah.
Would you add
Anything
anything else, Lou?
I mean, we're another thing, you know, like as the title, we're a whole other thing. So just reflective. Again, that authenticity, that originality.
Very non-binary title, right?
True. Yeah.
Anything else to add to that? Okay. Where can our listeners find TúLips or listen to TúLips?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at TúLips_Denver. You can also find us on Facebook if you search just that, TúLips_Denver, or if you put the accent on the U, capital L, that will help you find us. We're most present on our Instagram. That's where we have our main audience and momentum. We've put up some IGTVs of past live performances for you all to listen to and enjoy as we are in this recording process. But another place to hear a little bit more of our sound is our YouTube channel. If you just search Verbally Smooth, for example, we pop right up there. So you can get a sense of our sound there. And I know folks have been really enjoying the videos as they anxiously await for us to get on all the other platforms.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed and had fun talking to you all. Hopefully, this pandemic allows us to see each other in person sometime soon. And until then, I wish you all the best. And thank you again so much for being on our show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Jeremy.
It was fun.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So until next time, this was ColoLocal with TúLips, and I hope you all are taking care and being safe through the pandemic.